Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we have quite a unique mission, really. We're looking at a source stack making a very bold claim.
It is quite specific, yes.
It uses this complex numerical indexing system, trying to correlate 7 biblical verses with major world events, all set for September 21st, 2025.
And it's crucial to understand the lens here. We're looking at this strictly through Dr. Ernest L. Martin's framework, specifically his work from before 1998.
Right. So what does that mean for you listening? It's a system built on astrotheology and finding these historical prophetic parallels, essentially planets reflecting human history.
Exactly. Astrotheology is the idea that celestial movements mirror or, well, prophetically signal earthly events. And the source argues these upcoming events on this date aren't random. They form an alignment.
A non-random alignment.
Okay.
So it goes from the cosmic level right down to like specific national policies.
That's the claim. Let's start up there with the celestial markers. What's happening in the sky on September 21st, 2025, according to the source?
Well, 2 big things jump out. First, a partial solar eclipse, the sun darkening. Biblically, that's often seen as a portent, right? A sign of judgment.
A classic one, yes. And the second?
Saturn reaches opposition, meaning it looks its biggest and brightest from Earth.
And Saturn, historically, astrologically, it's often tied to judgment, limits, that sort of thing. So the source sees this as a visually amplified sign.
Okay, so signs in the heavens. And simultaneously down here, the source points to the Jerusalem fulcrum, specifically the conflict in Gaza.
Yes, interpreting that situation through Isaiah 24.6, seeing the land as consumed by a curse.
And this timing is key, isn't it? Because the source claims this date coincides with a major geopolitical move.
Precisely. The prediction is that 10 countries, the source names the UK, France, Canada among them, will formally recognize an independent Palestinian state on that very day.
Wow. Okay. And the interpretation?
The source sees it as a modern measuring of the land, like a political act of defining and, in a way, subjugating it. It draws a direct parallel to 2 Samuel 8.2, where territory was measured out.
Measuring, right. That's a pretty direct link from diplomacy to ancient texts. Okay, let's pivot to the U.S. situation. The source calls it the U.S. triptych, portraying apostasy and scattering. Uses Jeremiah 3.13 language.
It paints a picture of deep ideological division. For instance, it points to a predicted presidential attendance at a memorial for Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist, claiming his assassination and the event itself reflect a nation fractured. Remember, these are predicted events in the source material.
Got it. Predicted events acting as signs. And this division is then reflected in policy.
Yes, specifically a predicted presidential proclamation about H-1B visas. It supposedly restricts them unless employers pay a hefty $100,000 supplemental fee per worker.
$100,000. Oof. How is that interpreted prophetically?
Not as economics, but as the nation turning inward. Scattering its own ways, pulling back from global engagement. It fits that Jeremiah 3.13 pattern of going your own way, according to the source. The policy itself becomes a sign.
Turning inward, okay. And then there's a counterpoint, a rally in Seattle.
A predicted peace for all rally. But the source's interpretation is, well, quite stark. It suggests these humanistic calls for peace, if they're detached from repentance from that biblical framework, are sort of tragically missing the point.
It's guided. Okay, so tying it all together, the eclipse, Saturn, Gaza, the diplomatic move, the U.S. division, the visa policy, the rally. What's the synthesis?
The source argues all this chaos, this seeming disorder, is actually the wilderness period described in Psalm 78.52, a time of sorting.
Wilderness, like a testing ground.
Exactly, where a remnant is guided and purified, but amidst the chaos, a divine order is still there, hidden. It even points to obscure texts like 1 Chronicles 6.73, the genealogies, as symbolizing this preserved order beneath the surface.
So the big takeaway, what should you really grasp from all this?
The core argument is that these specific indexed events from space down to visa fees aren't random. They signal a major step up, an escalation in a prophesied time of global trouble and divine sorting.
The sorting. Okay, here's a final thought then, something maybe a bit provocative for you to consider. Despite all this talk of judgment, eclipses, scattering, Dr. Martin's ultimate theological view apparently leaned towards universal reconciliation, the eventual salvation of everyone.
That's true. It's a known aspect of his later thought.
So if these signs the system predicts do unfold, does focusing on them help us understand divine correction? Or does it risk pushing us towards expecting only divine condemnation? Something to think about.